Welcome to this long overdue video about the rooting of the privets. I'm going to preface this by saying that this is not a informative how-to video. I didn't like the results, so I'm not going to pass on that type of information. So what I say might not be exactly what's happening in the video you're watching, but I will try my best to include all the good and proper information. So here, we're just going to do some of the results. I think I was making a point here about that growing your privets into sand or trying to root them is great. There's a lot of benefits in the fact that, sand is reusable, non-organic. You don't have to worry about bugs. So anyways, we'll start off here. I think these were the FOOP gel roots. They look great. And I think over here, I ended up using the Clonex rooting gel. Most of these can be easily found at Amazon, Walmart, and very similar results, I want to say, but I did not like the FOOP. I mean, it's again this terrible video. I was trying to get into focus, but yeah, the heavy callousing, which is what you want, but some of the roots were just very small. Also, they seem to want to grow on one side. I think I'm going to pull one here and show, that heavy callousing on one side and then just like a bunch. And I didn't like that. But on the Clonex, I mean, you can see there's like spider-like. And that's very uniform across each and every one of them. And I really prefer that. They all have new growth. So, I mean, the roots are functioning properly. But there was some other situations going on that I didn't like, and I didn't document them well enough, so unfortunately. So over here, this is going to be the Hormex. This is your typical powder style. The bottom ones that I try to, put together was the FOOP again. And while some are alive, some are callousing, these just, for some reason, just did not start. You can see that there's an attempt of rooting, but nothing. So just not really happy with it. I had a lot of trouble with using the FOOP on there, which if anybody just wants to know, it's made out of fish poop. To me, it just seemed to bring in moss, and then you have to kill the moss. And again, I use hydrogen peroxide, which is supposed to be pretty neutral, especially if you dilute it down. And it didn't do so well. So I mean, out of all 6, I had very few properly root. But here on the top side, and again, you can see there, kind of a one side, which I don't understand why that's a characteristic using the FOOP. So, anyways, so on the top, this is the Hormex. This is your typical normal powder that you dunk it with powder and you can see. And I did actually have one that calloused, but it was going to be attempt to root, which again I don't know, but you can see that here. I'm going to show you next. Look at that huge growth, great spidered all the way across rooting. So, and that's the Hormex. That's your typical cheap one for powder. So you can see on the top there some powder, and we're gonna just go from there. So very similar results. Everything gave good results, but I would definitely recommend staying away from the FOOP. And here is my disgusting box of sand here, and the cracking is just by me loosening it up here, so no big deal. These are all clean except this one that I'm going to pull out, which is the FOOP. Completely just did nothing. However, I do believe that this is what ruined this one completely, because this is my first time pulling these up, and what's next is it's going to surprise me. which is these things had just great roots, and this had no rooting compound. These were just put inside wet soil, or excuse me, wet sand, and nothing else. So I'm just gonna pull several of these just to show you that, you know what, that for at least privets, you don't need much of anything, a rooting compound. And as you will see as I pull these out, they're all going to share a typical thing, right? They do have roots, but they're not large and they're not spidered out, which means that they just might need to be there a little longer. I'm probably going to speed this up in a minute. Anyways, as I went along, I mean, they were like just great roots. I did try to salvage all of these, but the leaves had all fallen off. So I believe there was no energy left for the cuttings to continue growing. They had leaves, they survived for long, then eventually they just died off, because without the leaf, or without a leaf, there's no way for them to produce food for their energy and to keep growing. So again, I'm not 100% sure why it happened, because even this one had it, but for some reason it also just, it's hard to explain. So I don't know why, and this is why I decided to postpone this video, because I just could not get everything resulted for the reason why, and I don't want to give, I mean, I'm not a professional, but I don't want to give, a bad advice. So again, I tried to salvage all of these. These all got replanted, and none of them survived. So I will be doing another video to get a more scientific approach, meaning I'm going to isolate each one a little bit better and go from there. So again, sorry for all the rambling and all this stuff. I just didn't want to put out this video, but I've had a lot of people ask me about the rooting, and here's just some of the results. And unfortunately, I thought I had this down. I thought I was going to give you guys some really good results, like, boom, 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 this is what you got to do, and this is what you got to buy. And there were just some situations there where I'm not comfortable with putting out there. So again, so that's all. Sorry for all the rambling. Anyways, the privets are doing great. I'll just do a quick video on that later on. And again, I will be doing a little bit of in-depth look. If you've made it this far and all you want to know is, what you need, I do recommend getting something like these cells, or these cell trays, which have a lid, which I'll link in the description. That way, keep the moisture in. And then I really would recommend, if you want to go on the cheap side, the Hormex powder. If you want to spend a little bit more and get guaranteed, tried and true, you're going to use the Clonex. I prefer the Clonex. It's a gel. I think it gets great results. And I think for the price, you're only saving a couple bucks. Unless you get the Hormex on sale. And, it's like 2 for 1. 2 for the, 2 Hormex powders for the price of a Clonex. It's great. But I also think the ease of use is, really something you can just dunk it and not worry about getting too much, too little, using powder. So anyways, that's it, guys. I hope you stuck around this long. It's a little more longer video. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.